Welcome back to the KIMI KATO show with Jeremiah. Our guest today is Mike Yamasaki, a renowned expert in Japanese swordsmanship. Born in LA, Mike is the first and only All Japan Appraisal Champion of Katana outside of Japan. He's dedicated to promoting Japanese culture in the United States through teaching, curating sword exhibitions at museums, sharing his expertise on porn stars. Let's dive into his fascinating work. So, we were talking about the All Japan Appraisal Competition, right?
So appraisal has a different kind of meaning in a sense in Japan for kante. So judgment, you can judge something how much is it worth, or is it good or bad, real or fake. But also for a Japanese sword, you would have example this blade, but see how the handle is covered with wood. So just based upon the upper portion of the blade, you have 1 minute to look at it and then guess who made it. So there are five swords in the
And you can't taste it.
yeah,
60
really.
seconds.
So
60
Can't
seconds.
in the
taste it.
in the national competition, which is held every 4 years, you are allowed five swords, 1 minute per sword, 20 points each equals 100, right? So if you hit the guy perfect, you get 20 points. If you get like his cousin, you get 15 points. If you get the school and the time period, 10 points. Then the lowest is 5 points or zero. So it's a little stressful because there's over 60,000 swordsmiths.
Okay. And just so you know, when you pull the sword out, right, you don't see who made it because it's covered, the handle is covered,
Yes, all you see is the upper portion of the
right?
blade. You don't see the tang.
Right. And the tang part is where you're holding and
Yeah,
it's covered.
it's covered,
So you
yes.
have to take it out and then you know who made it.
No, they tell you the answer.
Right. But normally
Normally, yes.
normally you would need to
So
take out
do
the
you get to call a
handle.
friend?
Yes. I wish I could call a friend.
So you take off the handle and then you see the actual
Name.
signature
Right.
of who made it.
So,
And that's how it works, apparently. So I
so
didn't
Kimmy, do
know
you have
this.
any swords?
No, I
Do you
don't.
have a collection? No.
No, no, I don't even own a replica. I've
Hmm.
never owned a sword, but I've recently, come to Mike's office, his
Appreciating it.
secret den, and now I found out that all the katana swords or swords have a signature that's hidden in the handle.
as long as they haven't been modified. So this
Right.
one's original from the early 1600s.
1600. I wasn't even born.
So you can see.
Right. Look
Yeah.
how beautiful that is.
I wonder how many battles that's been involved in. Do you know? Do you know anything like that? Are you able to
Well,
trace that?
this has a very strong provenance, this particular sword. It's actually a pole arm. It's a naginata, and it goes on a 6 to 8 foot pole when it's used.
Yeah.
Um, the misnomer is that only women use naginata, but that's not true. There are men that actually excel at
Benke.
using.
No?
Yeah, benkei was
Yeah.
one of them. Yes, I actually have a benkei size one. I'll show you later.
No
Yeah,
way.
but this particular naginata is made by the number one guy who worked in the early 1600s for making naginata and spears is Masatsune, and this he was from Owari, so this sword actually belonged to the Owari Tokugawa family.
And you can see
Cool.
the Kamon as well,
Yeah.
the Tokugawa Kamon.
For the listeners of the show right now, I want to encourage everybody to go to the YouTube channel and check out the interview because Mike's actually showing the swords here that he's describing. It's very, very incredible. You want to
This is
see this?
Tokugawa Kamon, right?
Yes,
Yes.
and that's also solid gold.
This is
And
the
what is that, Kimmy, that you're holding up for the
this is
screen?
the this is the
The-
last.
It's the collar that goes on to help fit the sword to the
Right.
handle.
Okay.
But the Tokugawa family was where the military leader Japan came from. There were three branches, and this is from the Owari Tokugawa. So this is the original habaki, which is solid gold actually. So
That's
that
from the 1600.
yeah,
Oh my goodness.
this sword has been in the Tokugawa family since
Right.
then.
And so how did that end up in the US?
Well, this particular piece was bought from a collection in Japan and brought over here, and then the person who bought it passed away, and I bought it from them because
Well,
it was such a wonderful sword and it had a great provenance.
congratulations.
And
I wouldn't mind owning a Tokugawa Kate sword.
oh yeah, who wouldn't, right?
Yeah, he
I
was the general that started the Edo period.
he's the one that unified all of Japan, and he basically beat everybody.
And closed Japan as well.
Yes,
Shut
at that
down
point,
Japan,
he made it his playground.
the entire country. Yeah.
So, in the essence of Kante, like we were talking about, we had 187 people enter the year I tried. And I had tried 5 times. No, 4 times. Sorry, 4 times. I didn't go last time. The first time, my teacher threw me to the wolves, and I didn't know what to expect, and I ended up getting a fifth. Then he goes, "The next time you'll win."
Well, you got fifth
Yeah,
for your first time.
my first
That's
time.
that's pretty decent, no?
And I pretty much thought I got a zero.
Yeah.
It was so hard. But, yeah, I mean,
Sounds like
one
a
of my
good teacher, though, that you.
oh, my sensei was very good because after that, he goes, "Next time you win." He says it's like it's so easy. So I spent the next 3.5 years, 3 months at a time, going to Japan and studying every day. I mean, I got on the train, went back home to the hotel. I lived at the hotel,
Mm.
and I actually felt like I actually lived in Tokyo. And my eyes were so tired every day from looking at so many swords. It just like you became sword blind. And the national convention for the sword museum that time was held in Kobe, and it was celebrating the rebirth of Kobe after the Kobe earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of the considered to this day one of the hardest contests. So I thought I did so bad, I didn't even want to hear the results. So I'm sitting at the table with a National Treasure polisher and some other friends who asked me to sit at their table and everything. And then doing their typical speeches in Japanese, which though I didn't understand those, and I don't think I want to. But then they said the answers for the Kante competition, and this remember there's over 600 people in this room, and then they said the winner is from Beikoku, which means
US,
yeah,
United States.
American, right?
Yeah.
So, and I didn't hear it. My friend heard it, and then they said my name, and so I'm just like, I did terrible. Then my friend hits me and he goes, "Hey, stupid, stand up, you won." So it was kind of quiet because when they said America, it was like they were expecting a white guy, or something. So I stand up and they're all like, it was quiet, and then they start clapping. It was really weird. It was like this big pause, right? Because nobody from America has ever won that competition before. So I
Wow.
had to
and,
go up
and
on
were people
stage.
bummed that
That
America had entered?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was weird because the two people I beat, they tied for second, were from the Japanese Sword Museum.
Oh,
So
so
that was
they were experts,
yeah.
and you beat them, so you became an even more of an expert.
Well, my teacher is the number one
Right.
expert in Japan. He's the one
I'm
that taught them.
telling you, man, this is a drama. This is made for for a good doc.
So I had to go up on stage. Like the first time I got that one, I
Mm-hmm.
had to actually go on stage and bow in front of the ex Prime Minister, Ryutaro Hashimoto.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was really scary. Then this time I had to go up on stage and bow in front of some other
Prime
famous
Minister.
guy, and then I'm just like, Okay, and I wanted to get off the stage as fast as possible, you know. Then people would come up and ask me after, congratulations, but their real question was the next, how did you learn about Japanese swords? And I just point to my teacher. Everybody knows him. And it became like, oh.
Oh.
So then nobody asked me anymore because the word spread. So that was easy.
What happened, Mike, where you that first moment as a child when you were able to play with a sword to the point where you said, "I'm going to make this a career." Do you remember that moment it switched for you internally in your mind, like, "Oh, I'm proud of this culture, this heritage, and I want to learn more." And how did you go down that path? And when was that moment that you switched from just being fascinated by a sword as a kid to, "I want to
Well,
make a career about this"?
it's really weird because like when you're a kid, the swordsmanship is the attractive point, right? Like
You
using the
cut it.
sword, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cutting people,
Yeah. So
stabbing people.
yeah,
Run, Kimmy, run.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the lure. Okay. But when I met a polisher who was in Little Tokyo when I was about,
And this guy's a sword polisher.
yes, there was an actual Japanese sword polisher in Little Tokyo when I was about 20 years old. And my uncle knew him, so he introduced me to the guy and he started teaching me about swords.
In LA.
Yeah,
This is
Little
in Little
Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Yeah,
When
Little
you're a
Tokyo of
little,
all things.
when you're a boy.
A lot of people didn't even know that there was a sword
Right.
polisher there,
And I didn't know that too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a professional sword polisher.
Yeah,
So
first I've heard of it.
just to be in perspective, to polish one long sword is about $2,500 to $3,500
Pardon me?
Really?
just
Okay.
to polish.
Nice.
It's a 13 stone process, all done traditionally, and that's how they look.
Mm-hmm.
No modern technology
Right.
whatsoever.
Right.
It's
It's
all
just
done
by
by stone.
stone and by person, by
Mm-hmm.
human.
Human doing, like so.
Okay.
So I found it fascinating more than swordsmanship to learn about the sword itself. And he showed me different stages, and you could see the grain pattern and all this and that. So to put it in context for the average viewer, the Nihonto or Japanese sword has over 33,000 layers of steel. So
33,000.
yes,
Layers.
layers.
So you
How
want
long
to
does it take to that's just like a coat or something and then
It's
another in a
folded,
form?
folded, folded.
so they
So
yeah.
yeah,
Oh.
until it's gotten all the impurities
So
and
how thin is each layer, do you know? Oh, you
well,
must know.
yeah, they're
This is a
usually
question on your quiz.
yeah, they're about
And
3 millimeters.
swords are
Uh,
made from specific steel that you can only find in Japan,
Yeah,
shimane,
yeah.
right? This is weird because I thought steel or iron ore is iron ore, the same everywhere. But no, Japanese swords are only made by iron ore called tamahagane that you can find in specific place
Area.
of area of Japan.
Right. So during the older time, the places that were famous for having the great iron ore were became great production places of high quality swords.
What
Hey,
if it
Mike,
locks
do you
out?
mind, Mike? Sorry to interrupt you. Can you pull your mic down towards you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. Um. So
I mean,
if
you
you
can
lived
probably
in
pull it forward. You need to. Sorry, go ahead.
so if you lived in Bizen, there was a great natural supply of this high grade iron ore. So that's why Bizen sword production is high quality and a lot of swords. So when you go out to the country parts where the iron ore is not that good, the swords are very poorly made. They're really ugly.
Mm.
So even if the guy had talent, he couldn't make a really good sword because the material was bad. So in learning all this stuff, it taught me about quality that Japan, the Japanese people actually are very proud of.
So 30, did you say 33,000 layers?
33,000 layers is the average
So
layers.
that means you're actually giving at least like 33. So maybe
It works. Yeah,
15,000. Right.
right. How many? So two, four,
Right.
eight,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So when the sword is polished properly, you can see the grain pattern and
Mhm.
the layers,
Mhm.
and it's very beautiful. It's unlike anything else. I mean, people say wood steel, Damascus is the same, but it's not true. They cheat because in Damascus they put soft and hard steel together, and it's easy to make that pattern visible if you hit it with acid. Japanese don't mix those two. The grain pattern is the same without that inclusion in it, and it's all high grade steel. The inner part is soft, so it has flexibility. So that's why Japanese swords are designed to bend, not to break. So when we
That's
teach you how
really
to cut,
interesting.
you can bend my sword, but it won't break, so it's
Right.
okay.
Huh.
So,
Wow. I learned a lot there. I love that.
well, a lot of it is the tip of the iceberg thing. So I started learning more and more and more, and it just got to be more fascinating for
Yeah.
me. And then I found out I had to start learning to read kanji.
Right.
So this was a problem because me born in America and they don't teach kanji anywhere in.
Yes. Kanji is Chinese characters, and old time Japanese use kanji, and we do now as well. But more kanji back then.
Was really Chinese,
Yes.
yeah.
What? So all kanji. There's no easy Japanese hiragana, katakana. It was all kanji.
So I wrote one kanji a week to learn how to
One kanji
read
a
it.
week. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
How
until
much
I
is a
could read.
kanji? Like how much is it?
Four
What is that
thousand maybe.
worth?
Reading the characters. I know some
Uh-huh.
are simple and some are very
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
So, it could be up to 20 strokes in one kanji. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but see, reading the kanji is one thing, then learning how to differentiate between fake and real for signatures is another thing.
Right. Right. So every katana has a signature that's etched, right?
No, chiseled.
Oh, chisel. Sorry.
Chiseled,
Okay,
yes.
chiseled.
Mhm.
Um, it basically people could replicate the old.
They try.
They try, but you have to be able to, as an appraiser, you need to be able to distinguish the difference between a real signature and a fake one.
So the chisel will go this way or this way,
Mm-hmm.
and
Left or right.
the point also is thinner or thicker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So famous smiths, a lot of them had a secret mark
Mm.
they would use. So if you look carefully and learn that point, that's not real.
But what if now you know that now you can create something fake if you want
Well,
to.
so the problem you have is when you look at the writing, a lot of guys didn't have the access to the real one.
Right, got
So
it.
they said, okay, I'm going to make kanesada.
Mm,
So I write kanesada. Well, he doesn't know kanesada all goes this way, so he writes kanesada this way. You know,
right,
it's like writing KIMI.
right. Yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
yeah. The way I write it, you might be able to copy it, but at the end of the day, it will never be me, right?
well, not even
That's
that.
the
If I don't
idea,
even know you,
right?
I just write KIMI KATO, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. Oh, that's not even it, right?
Mm.
So there was a lot to learn about the Japanese swords itself, and then you get in the deeper pool and you find out there's a separate study for sword fittings. Mounting the guards and everything. So I'm like, oh my god, this is like endless.
Yeah, it seems like Japanese swords seems to be very simple, but it isn't.
No.
No, so can you kind of walk us through that?
Well, that's
Actually,
the
Kimmy, we should take a quick break
Yes,
and
okay.
do that on the other side.
Yeah.
It's
We
so
are
interesting.
gonna go.
I don't,
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
like, I mean, wrapped up and the time is just
I
disappearing.
know. I know. Okay, we are gonna go out with "Ice Ice Baby" by Vanilla
Okay.
Ice.
You know, I loved when I saw that is because that's a guilty pleasure song for me. I'm like, I get to listen to that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks for sending that.
It's an enjoyable song and it's fun.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it just cracks me up. We changed it to the other version that said rice, rice, baby. But the